Exciting week. Really looking forward to this game. I think there's been a lot of build up, and rightfully so. Talking about one of the greatest rivalries in the history of this game, one of the most influential rivalries, and to get a chance to bring that game kind of back to life here this year is a great opportunity. We have talked with our team a little bit about the significance of this rivalry, what it means, the history behind it, because we do take a lot of pride in our program and all the players, coaches, everybody that came before us and what they did to build this, and we know how significant it is to those people, was to those people throughout those years, and so we want to do a great job of honoring that by putting our best foot forward, having a great week and being ready to play a good Nebraska team. So we're excited for the challenge, looking forward to another home game. I really want to give a shout out to our fan base. Appreciate their response last week. It was a blast to be in there. I think every person in that stadium enjoyed it and appreciated it, maybe a little differently than they had before. I know I certainly did, and I think our players did as well. So it was a great home atmosphere, and I know this one will certainly be the same. So we'll be looking forward to Saturday. On the announcement front, guys that will miss this game, Brian Darby will miss this game. Woody Washington's doubtful, but we'll see how the week progresses. And then we got a handful of other guys that are questionable. We'll see how they do throughout the week and make those decisions a little bit later on. So with that, you guys fire away.
Lincoln, you just talked about telling your players about this rivalry and the history behind it. How did you go about that? You show them old games, show them highlights. What does that look like for you? And then had you watched a lot of that stuff before, or has this been some stuff that you're seeing for the first time?
I've seen replays and highlights from several of the old games before. Certainly was aware of the rivalry and its significance in college football. For our guys, honestly, I know everybody talks about the game of the century, but there was a lot of phenomenal games and players and moments in that. It felt, honestly, we talked about doing a video, and then it honestly felt a little like, how do you pick just one? Like it almost minimizes it. So I visited with them about it. We had a little slide prepared that showed, the history of it, when it started, highlighted some key games, some of the different players, all the different, 1 versus 2 matchups, all the significance for conference and national championships. And so, and we talked a lot about, again, just the importance to our former players, people that were a part of that rivalry. And if it's important to those people, it's important to us. So it was a good educational piece for all of us. There's certainly some things I learned through it as well.
Have you talked to Bob about that, especially given like the 2000 game and the significance for that season?
We have talked about that game several times, not necessarily in reference to this game, but I can remember several times, him talking about that game and really thinking that was the game that really turned the tide in a lot of ways here. I know for him, he personally felt that, and so no, it's been good to talk to him about it. I've talked with Coach Switzer before about some of those games. I mean, it's you get around this place, you're going to hear about that game, as you rightfully should. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Lincoln, a lot of talk last week about the way that your team prepared and played 4 quarters and things like that. Do you think that message has been fully received, or is that something you have to keep harping on?
Oh, keep harping on. I mean, it'll be a weekly thing for us. This week's a great example. You come off it in a totally different scenario. You come off, a game where, the scoreboard says that you did some good things. And then you go into a game that has a lot of hype and build up and all that. So it's really kind of the total opposite scenario for us. And so, and there's going to be different scenarios after each and every game and going into each and every week all year. And we've got to keep our mindset the same. The reality is there's a lot of plays from that game the other day that we didn't do very well that we were successful on because we had better players. And our guys can't look at it and say, well, coach, I was successful. So even though I didn't quite do this right, look, it still worked. we know the margin of error is going to get smaller as we go, and the competition is going to get better. We're going to have to get better, and so as coaches and players, we've got to look at it with the exact same eye that we did the Tulane tape. There's got to be a lot of improvement. It was better, but it's far from where we want to be.
Lincoln, Iowa Western is only an hour away from Lincoln, but you've been able to get Isaiah and Perrion from that school. Do you remember anything in particular about Perrion, his recruitment, and how happy are you with the way he played his first couple games?
Yeah, I tell you, it was a fun recruitment. He's a fun guy, energetic. He had a great family. We certainly recruited him, but he was pretty locked in on OU pretty quick. I really felt like he was going to come to OU early in the recruitment. And sometimes you get a feel for a guy, and yeah, he makes you feel good about your chances, but he also makes 10 other schools feel good about their chances too. And he wasn't that guy. He was loyal the whole way through. When he said he was coming, he was done. We had great visits with him. I remember I went up and saw him. I guess it would have been maybe in December. Just met him up there in the library of the school. Everybody was gone for Christmas break. I think we were the only 2 people on the entire campus, and it was colder than hell. But that school's obviously been good to us. And yeah, Perrion missed a little bit of time before the first game, so he had some good moments in the first game. But honestly, it was pretty rusty. He played at a higher level more consistently the other night.
Coach, these last couple of games, Nebraska's defense looking just a little bit more like those old black shirts from back in the day against Fordham and Buffalo. What stands out to you most about what they've done the last couple of weeks?
They do everything pretty well. They're pretty experienced in the secondary. Guys have played a lot of ball. They got a big physical front. They do some things schematically that really challenge you. Do a good job mixing it up. They're a good group. They are. I think they've really improved from, looking at some of last year's tape and on to this year. I think it's a much better unit, and they're playing at a high level. There's no doubt about it. So it's a challenge. They've done a nice job with that group. You can see it heading in a positive direction for them.
And then wanted to ask you real quickly about Adrian Martinez and just what you see in him.
He's a good player. We recruited him a little bit. Very, very athletic. Knew that coming out of high school, and that's if anything, he's improved there. He's one of those guys you can have somebody account for him, but at the same time, sometimes he can just beat that guy too. His athleticism it jumps off the screen. So I think he's really improved as a passer. You can tell they're settling in with what they want to do with him, and he does it well. So I think he's been. Looks it to me improved on the on-script stuff, and then the things that get off-script is when he gets really, really good. Good player. He'll be a big challenge, and he'll be as athletic a guy as we play all year.
John Shin. Lincoln, as you look around college football, it seems to be more and more any given Saturday, anything can happen. But is it getting tougher to hold players' attention spans? Is it harder now than it was 10 years ago?
No, I don't. Is it tougher? I don't know. Maybe a little. I don't think it's a huge gap. I just think you're fighting different things than you fought then, and so I think we've had to, at times adjust our I don't know, tactics, but kind of our strategy to hold their attention as things have changed. So I think the easy thing would be to say, yeah, it's a whole lot harder, but it was pretty hard back then too. It's always a challenge, and you've got to do a good job of as a staff. And I think that's again where you rely on your leadership. At the end of the day, whether it's your focus, mentality, holding attention, whatever it is, if it's only coming from the staff, they're just going to get it ever so often. The most powerful is when it's coming, from the staff and from the team as well, and the leadership within the team. And so that's what we're all striving for. I think we've got a group that's starting to do that more and more, and hopefully we can keep that up.
Jesse Crittenden. Hey, Lincoln, after watching the film from Western Carolina, was there areas of improvement you saw from week 1 to week 2 that you were really wanting to see? And is there anything from week 2 going into Nebraska that you still think you guys need to improve on?
Yeah. There's some areas of improvement, certainly. I mean, I know we've talked a bunch about the whole mentality. It was much, much better. You know, again, I think defensively, we played a much cleaner game, way less mistakes. Coverage was better, much improved there. We were improved on penalties, mental mistakes, all of that. So it was cleaned up. Yeah, areas I want to see improve. I think we only got probably 15 more minutes in this press conference, so we got. It's week 2. You know, I mean, everywhere, everybody, the coaching, the offense, defense, special teams, all needs to get better. I mean, it's just you see the score and you think, oh, that was like a perfect game, and you watch the tape and that was nowhere near a perfect game. I mean, it's why we can't get too result oriented talking about us because that doesn't always tell the story. You know, it's about the standard what you play, and the reality is we can look at that tape, every one of us, and if we don't look at that scoreboard and we just pay attention to how we're playing, improved, yes, needs drastic improvement, absolutely.
John Hoover.
Lincoln, you guys have won games 2 different ways. Does that help you in any way moving forward? The fact that you were able to finish a game with everybody next to you on the sideline one game, and the next game or the previous game, you guys are out there fighting their guts out to win. Does that prepare you in any way moving forward?
Yeah, I hope so. I mean, at the end of the day, you know those are coming. You just don't know when, meaning that, to have good runs as a football team, you have to win so many different ways. And you can go back and look at any of our championship teams over the last several years. We've had a handful that you've had to gut out, and we've had a handful that we've played well and separated and been a little bit more like the other night. So I'm glad that we've found ways to win both of them. I'm glad that we've shown the ability to do that. We're going to have to win more close games going forward. There's no question about it. In some ways it definitely is a positive that we have been in that situation already.
Joey Elmer.
Yeah, one of the things that's been lost a little bit with this conference realignment has been some of these traditional rivalries. How good do you feel like just these traditional rivalry matchups are for the sport?
They're awesome. They're awesome. I mean, I think it's really smart by both administrations putting this together. I mean, this is you have big non-conference games, and we play as many of those as anybody, but there's something a little bit different about this one because of it, and it's so unique. And I think everybody, whether you're an Oklahoma or Nebraska fan, player, coach, administrator, anybody that has anything to do with either one, I think you realize that, and that you are getting a chance to be a part of something special here. So there's definitely a little bit of a different feel to this one, and I think it's fantastic for the sport.
Austin Kirkray.
Hey, you mentioned educating the players about the rivalry itself. Could you maybe mention what games or players or plays specifically were maybe part of that process?
Yeah, I mean, I'm also on the clock with these guys too, so I mean, I can't give a 30-minute history lesson. We got to get ready to play them on Saturday. But I took them through the overall history. We highlighted a couple of individual games that were the very top, including the game of the century, of course. Didn't talk much about individual players because, again, I think while there's been so many great ones, you start, where do you stop? And so, again, I think it was my job to give our guys an idea of the scope of this thing, what the overall picture looks like, and hopefully we can go create a great memory on Saturday.
James Hale.
Lincoln, Scott Frost is off to a slow start in some ways, and people are down on him. But I do talk to people up there that feel like he's beginning to turn the talent level over, and he's beginning to get more talent. You're trained out. When you turn on their film, what do you see out of Nebraska athletically, special team, all on both sides of the ball?
Yeah, I haven't watched them much in the previous year, so I don't know that I could give you a great comparison, but I see a talented football team. I mean, I see a quarterback that can run, throw, do it all. I see really good offensive skill. They're big, strong in the trenches, kind of like what you would expect. Again, I see a secondary that's played a lot of ball, has crazy good length. So, I mean, I see a talented football team. Now, is that better, worse than what they've had before, I can't speak to that. But there's some good football players, a lot of them, when I turn on that tape.
Junior Carlson.
Lincoln, Spencer at this point going into Game 3 this year, a year ago going into Game 3 with Iowa State. How has he changed in his prep getting ready at this point in the year compared to where he was? And how have you all, I guess, adapted with him and what you're giving him and what you're asking him to do?
Yeah, I mean, I think his prep has really just matured. I mean, I think he has a good feel now for what we're doing, the things that he needs to do, both when he's with us, either in the practice field or in the meeting room, and then the things he's got to do outside of here to get himself ready. So he knows the routine, and you could tell he's, it's still a grind and a strain on everybody to get ready to play these games, but he's settled in with it, knows what to expect. And so you kind of feel that through the week that he's, as everything comes a little bit smoother, things are picked up a little bit faster. You feel like he's at a good point in the game plan earlier in the week than what he was last year. Last year, again, first one, it's just kind of a fight and struggle every week to get ready. And then, I think as we've learned about his strengths, weaknesses, what he likes, what he's comfortable with, we absolutely have, evolved. And there's some things that I know right now that I didn't know last year at this time. And there's some situations and things I would have called and all that knowing what I know now, I wouldn't have done. And so, some of that time, kind of that being battle tested, going through these things together, you learn about each other. You get a better feel for what's going to put him in a position to play as well as he can.
Look at what you give a quarterback going into a game as far as game planning goes. Do you give a quarterback more as they get more experience, or is there a finite amount of game plan you can implement in any given week?
Yeah, we're a pretty big believer in a set amount, but you can make that amount as easy or difficult as you want to. I could make it to where any guy in our room could go run it, and I could make it to where he's probably the only one that could. And so, and some of that's obviously he's a big part of it, but some of that's also what can the line handle, what can our skill guys, looking at it from an overall perspective. But when you do have a quarterback that can handle things, it does make it easier and you feel more comfortable giving your guys new things and feeling like that after a week of practice they can go execute it.
Justin Martinez.
Lincoln, Adrian also has shown that he can make some big plays with his legs. You talked about carry on earlier. Just how important is it going to be for him to put pressure on him and also the D-line in general?
Yeah, I mean, I think the interior pass rush, anytime you play a really athletic quarterback is important. I mean, obviously you'd love to get rush on the edges and all that, but if you're really wide up the edges, you can open up big holes. Whereas that interior pass rush sometimes hard to get away from. And so I think you got to be really disciplined when you rush the passer against this guy. And obviously Perry on and all of our inside guys, any inside push and pressure that we can get, is going to make things tougher on any quarterback, especially one as athletic as Adrian.
How good was it? You take opponent into consideration, but you got some other receivers. Marvin Mims kind of being a consistent guy, but Hazelwood catches passes, Mario Williams, some other guys, Mike Woods, just to get other guys involved so it's not just all on one guy.
Yeah, no, it's important. It's when we've been in our best, we've been able to spread it around and have different weapons. And so it feels like we got the makings of having a group where the ball's going to have a chance to get spread around, and a lot of guys are going to be able to make plays. We obviously got to keep improving, but there's been some certain bright spots there early on in the season. And now it's important. You never know who you're going to have available, who you're not. And I think it's really helped our quarterbacks, because then you're not so zeroed in and trying to get this guy the ball or that guy the ball. You're just simply just going through your progressions and throwing it wherever the progression says and trusting it. And I think our guys have quite a bit of trust at each receiver position right now.
Mason Young. Lincoln, this stretch of 4 straight home games that you've got seems somewhat irregular. Do you feel like that's benefited the guys in terms of, compared to previous years, of just them getting grounded and getting the foundation that they need going before you hit the road? And do you think that'll benefit you when you head to Kansas State in a couple of weeks?
I probably would have rather played a road game, but if I had my choice, but it's not, I mean, it's not the end of the world. I mean, I obviously love getting a chance to play here. You want to put your guys in as many different situations as you can. So, you know, we got the extra one at home, although be it a strange one. We got the extra one at home, and that's what it is. So we need to take advantage of that. We're going to get to play in, you know, we got one last week. We're going to play in 2 more great atmospheres here before we go on the road, and it'll be a challenge when we get there. But, yeah, I mean, positives and negatives to both. We got to, like anything, we've got to, you know, emphasize and take advantage of the positives and be ready to overcome any negatives with it.
Curtis Fitzpatrick.
Yeah, Lincoln, it looks like Kennedy Brooks has kind of just picked up where he left off. Is that what you guys are seeing when you watch him on film, or is there still something that, you know, is not quite there, you need to fine-tune after sitting out the year?
Yeah, he's better. You know, he's done. It's honestly pretty impressive, you know, what he's done, just watching him. I mean, with that much time off, away from the game, away from the practice field, all that, it's been good to see him get back in the flow. I thought he was better here the other night than he was in the first one, and he'll continue to improve as he gets carries and experience going forward. But the thing I see with him, I think he's a little more explosive, a little faster, a little stronger. I think his body has improved and probably at an all-time high for him. You know, and I've seen the guy carry the ball so much, I can notice some subtle things physically that he's doing that I think are better than in years past right now.
Did you notice something from Eric Gray that after watching on tape that looked a lot different than the first game?
Yeah, he trusted it more. You know, he trusted the line where it was supposed to hit. I thought he ran more decisive. You know, made a couple big plays, obviously. So, no, I think it was a step that we expected, kind of a natural first to second game improvement, and appreciated the way that he trusted our line and our line responded. And when you're both on the same page like that, you're going to have success. So it was a nice, I won't say bounce back. He wasn't awful in the first game, but it was definitely an improvement for Eric.
Yeah, Lincoln, now that you've seen Jaden Knowles and Todd Hudson in game action under the lights score a couple touchdowns, are you more confident or more comfortable using them moving forward?
I would say so. I mean, you always think you're going to see what you see on the practice field, but you still want to see them do it under the lights. And so they both did a good job the other night. You know, made a couple plays. Ran hard with the ball. Ball security was good. You know, I thought they solved everything well. So yeah, no, I mean, I think they're. You know, listen, we're going to need those guys at some point this year. I can't tell you when it's going to be, but we're going to need them, and they're getting better. I mean, the nice thing about having a small room right now is everybody's getting a lot of reps, and so all those guys are getting a chance to improve, and I think we saw some of that Saturday night.
Lee Benson.
Coach, through 2 games now, how has Wanye progressed? I know it looked like he got a lot more snaps the last game out, and I know you like to play a bunch of different groups on the offensive line. Is that going to continue going forward in this Nebraska game to find that group that you like?
Yeah, I thought Wanya came in and played pretty well, you know, for his first action. We've worked him at both left and right tackle, and I think he's handled it pretty well, starting to get more settled in with our mentality, with our scheme. I guess kind of like Eric, you know, it's knowing it, being able to draw it up on the board is one thing. Going out in the game and at full speed, trusting it and executing at a high level is 2 different things. And so I thought he's improved. You know, I think we're going to continue to have battles as this thing goes out. I mean, we feel like we've got, you know, 6, 7, maybe even 8 quality, you know, starting quality offensive linemen. And, you know, again, we're going to try to find the best group as we continue to go through. So, don't know if we would decide yet, you know, how much rotation there would be, but there's still going to be internal battles.
Lincoln, what does it say about Marcus Hicks? The injuries, switching the positions, and then there he was, finally getting the chance to play Saturday.
Yeah, and did a good job too. Yeah, no, the journeys are always different. You know, his has been from the Achilles injury to, you know, us making the move to offensive line, and he's, you know, had to kind of learn that thing on the fly. But he's got some real talent for the position. He really does, and so. You know, this will be a great year for him to really take it all in behind the scenes. You know, really start to learn what he's doing, have a better idea of, you know, the techniques, the fundamentals, everything associated. We'll do some different things with his body to get him ready, and hope to be able to play him and really develop him this year. And then the hope is, have that guy ready in spring ball to contribute. And because he does have ability. I mean, there's no doubt. And he's got a great attitude. He's a smart kid. So wouldn't shock me at all here in a few years to see him turn into a really good player at the offensive line.
James,
Lincoln, you're playing a number of freshmen. The trail started, Stutzman got in early. You're playing a number of guys. You always seem to do that. So in recruiting, doesn't that help you a lot? Or can you explain how it helps you a lot when you tell a kid, if you're good enough, I don't care how many guys at that spot I'm playing in?
Yeah, no, I think it's something that gets discussed quite a bit. It's questions that we get asked. People want to know if they're going to get opportunities. And our big deal, we've told people, we've never promised anybody anything. I mean, you look at some of the guys we brought in here, we make everybody earn it. And nobody walks in here with a freebie. But at the flip side, nobody walks in here with no chance either. And nobody's got anything sewn up. And that's just always been our belief. It just goes back to competition. And for us, we don't want to be scared to put a freshman in the game if he's the best player. Even if another guy, you've played with them more, or you maybe have a little bit higher comfort level or whatever. That's comfort level will get you beat. I mean, you got to play the best people. You got to give everybody a shot to show what they can do, and that's what we try to do. We try to take the whole freshman, sophomore, junior, senior thing out of it. Who's the best player, who's performing, and who do we trust? And if that's a freshman, great. If it's a senior, great. We just want to get the best guys on the field.
Jenny Carlson.
Lincoln, I asked you to go back to East Carolina days on Saturday night. I'm going to ask you to go back even further.
Okay.
So when you were a kid, you didn't grow up in Oklahoma or Nebraska, but I'm sure you watched a ton of college football. What are your memories of OU Nebraska? What's sort of in your brain about that series when you were young?
I remember it being just always kind of that it game. It was always talked about on such a national level that, yeah, even though it wasn't quite, I guess, what you call regional for us, it's one you're always aware of. And then obviously all the great players that came on both sides of the ball, the championships, the dominating sides of the ball. I mean, yeah, it was one of those from afar you looked at and said, man, it'd be cool to be a part of that one day. So little did I know, here we go. So that's cool. We've gotten to play in some great venues over the years, and obviously historic games. Some of them that we get to play each and every year, meaningful games, all that. But this one will be right up there.
Okay, that's everything we have.
All right. Thank you, guys.